Yeah, it's interesting that two books came out, one written by Stephen Harding, who's at Schumacher College in Devon, and the other by James Lovelock, who was the first person to propose the Gaia hypothesis. And both of them are concerned with the state of the planet, and as Lovelock points out, the planet's fine, you know, maybe the human race will disappear and quite a few species, but the planet will survive, and new species will adapt if this global warming goes above a certain level. But his solution is, well, it's a technological one. We need lots of nuclear power. We need to build a big umbrella in space to shield the Earth. We need to put sulfur in aviation fuel so you get these tiny droplets of sulfuric acid in the upper atmosphere, and they act to produce something known as global dimming, which cuts down the radiation reaching the Earth. So he proposes a technological solution. The other book come out simultaneously by Stephen Harding says, well, let us make sure that we're eating stuff that's grown locally. Let's drive a little bit slower on the highway. Let's turn down the thermostat from 20 degrees centigrade to 19 or 18. Let's switch off the lights when we leave from the room. So he's proposing, what can I do? What can an individual do? What tiny actions can an individual do? I think it's very interesting that these two ways of looking, one is that it's a major battle that we've got to fight, and we need to fight it with technology. And the other one is, well, what can an individual do? And I'd just like add one thing. There's a guy called Joe Meeker wrote a book called The Comedy of Survival. And he pointed out that in the West, tragedy has been the big thing of theatre, from, you know, Sophocles, Euripides, through Shakespeare with King Lear. We've looked at tragedy. And in tragedy, there's a big figure, a king, who is fighting the fates and is brought down and destroyed and dies. That's tragedy. And he sees that's the way we view things. If we see, like, we've got to have a war on drugs, we've got to do aggressive medicine, we've got to do magic bullets. We have all these metaphors, which are quite violent ones. And so we see there's an environmental problem, and we have to attack the environmental problem. We're going to attack it. Now, the thing that Mika points out is that in other parts of the world, comedy is the key. People favor, and what is comedy? It's putting on masks. It's cheating authority by going around. It's bending the rules. It's mocking authority. It's sexual ambivalence, and it ends in marriage. Comedy always ends in a marriage, and he feels what we need in the West is maybe to involve a little bit of comedy. So when we see the environmental possibility of environmental disaster, not to get so frightened, not to operate from a position of fear and we're going to attack this aggressively, but maybe find ways around, you know, to find alternatives, to find ways of tricking the system, to find that maybe Stephen Harding's idea that if we begin with the individual and we all become more aware of what we're doing and more concerned for what we're doing, and then that will work up to the larger groups, like, you know, the environmental movement, the insurance companies, the energy companies, people like that. Again, will take more concern. And it's certainly true. You're no longer a gasoline company or a petrol company. You're an energy company.